What's up everybody and welcome to the cave. I'm GrizzlyKaun and I'm back with another breakdown of Invincible. Today we're going over Season 4, Episode 3, and boy is there a lot to go over. So do me a favor and smash that like button because it really helps me out, and let's get into it. We start our episode with the reunion of Titan and Machine Head. Machine Head has called this meeting to inform Titan that Mr. Liu is still alive after Machine Head shot him in Season 3. Having been brought back by an ancient ritual, and while Machine Head has been granted immunity since he's the head of the criminal organization, Titan shares no such immunity, and Mr. Liu will be coming for him and his family. Machine Head offers Titan a return to the Order, but Titan says he's out of that life. Meanwhile, the Guardians can't come to an agreement whether what Invincible did to Russ, the Sequid leader, was right or not. Rex thinks what Mark did was out of bounds, while Bulletproof thinks Mark was right to end the fight then and there, rather than possibly letting the shield fail and the Sequids take over the entire city and possibly the planet. Monster Girl tells them to break it up and hit the shower. However, before Rex can enter the shower, he comes down with a coughing fit, vomits, and hurls up a surprised Sequid. Too hoarse to scream, he fights off the little bastard but slips and falls to the floor. Luckily, Monster Girl comes in at the last second and crushes the parasite before it could latch on to Rex. Monster Girl says it's okay, we won, but Rex disagrees. No, we were lucky, and luck isn't a variable we can control. The Sequids, Angstrom, Doc Seismic, we stopped them, but they always return stronger than before. We're not dealing with these threats permanently, and because of that, it's simply a matter of time before our luck runs out and they defeat us. And all Monster Girl can say in response to this is, maybe Mark was right. This is a pivotal moment for Rex and his morality on how to handle these life or death situations with these persisting supervillains. A first step that causes him to make a very big decision later on in the episode. Mark is having a really hard time coping with the decision he made to kill Russ, so he calls Eve to try to talk it over with her. However, Eve is trying to cope with her own problems at the moment, still dealing with her failing powers. Just as he finishes leaving a message, Donald arrives to let Mark know that Cecil wants to have a word with him. Paul offers up a plan to sell both his and Debbie's house in order to buy a new, larger house for them to move in together, including Mark and Oliver. However, Debbie's having a hard time with this decision as she's lived in that house for 20 years and she raised both of her kids there. Paul tells her to sleep on the idea. We jump to the park where a security team gives the all clear message over a headset for Titan and his family to enjoy a nice afternoon stroll. But suddenly, 3 of the 4 guards are decapitated while the 4th is bisected before anyone can give the alert. A blade then comes whizzing in the direction of Titan's family, but he takes the blow with his rock body. He tells his wife to take Fiona and run as more blades come flying their way. The assailant reveals himself and Titan recognizes him as Magnetak. As the two square off, Magnetak throws a blade right in the direction of Titan's wife and daughter, barely missing the two, and it sends Titan into a rage. And as Titan takes the assailant to the ground, Magnetak sends another blade hurling right for them with no cover for them to dodge the attack. Titan screams, but just as the blade is about to strike its target, Isotope teleports in and grabs Vanessa and Fiona and teleports them back to safety. Titan turns to a blind rage, screaming, "You don't ever fuck with my family!" and beats Magnetak to a bloody pulp as his hovering blades fall still to the ground. Oliver and Debbie have a quick talk about how Mark has just been really hot and cold lately. But Debbie assures Oliver that he's just been dealing with a lot these days. Mark goes to meet Cecil, where Cecil assures him that he would have done the same thing regarding the situation with Russ. And although he agrees with what Mark did, he also agrees that it's not like Mark to act without mercy. Mark says maybe it's the way he should be. He could have saved countless lives had he taken Angstrom out earlier in their encounters, and he won't let it happen again. But Cecil doesn't want Mark to become that person. Decisions like this, they change you, and not for the better. It's the reason I make the calls and the Guardians don't, so they can sleep at night. Me, I gave up sleeping years ago. And just as Mark and Cecil are finally able to have a civil conversation for once, DA Sinclair barges in to give an apology to Mark for his experiments and what he did to his friends and the other college students in Season 1. However, Mark doesn't want to hear any part of it and tells Sinclair he never wants to see him again. Mark thinks Cecil set up this chance meeting, but Cecil denies it and says that he told Sinclair to fuck off to lunch. Mark has nothing more to say and flies out. At least not through the ceiling this time. Mark arrives home to a crying Eve. She tells him the atoms she uses to create her constructs are just slipping through her fingers, unable to control them anymore. Mark suggests asking Rex to help her figure out her powers, and confesses to Eve that he killed Russ in order to stop the Sequid invasion, just as Invincible Inc. is getting a call. However, Mark isn't feeling up to answering any emergency calls at the moment with everything they have going on. But Oliver overhears and offers to take his place. Turns out the call was coming from Titan. He wants help to take out Mr. Liu after the attack on himself and his family, and although hesitant, he agrees to hire Oliver for the job. And just as Rex starts to discuss Eve's power problems with her, an alarm sounds, one that they know all too well. That's right, the Flaxons are back, and taking any humans they can as captives. The last time we saw the Flaxons invade, Omni-Man took the fight through the portal to their turf, where he convinced them to leave Earth alone. However, time moves much more rapidly in their dimension, and it's been a long time for them, and enough time to set up an invasion force. This time, however, instead of each soldier wearing a temporal bracelet, there's a single signal coming from somewhere. The temporal signal to keep the Flaxons young in our dimension is coming from a singular source. In other words,
save lives. Find and destroy their emitter. Watch them get old and die.
Easier said than done, my friend. This time, the Flaxons brought mech suits with them, strong enough to rival the strength of a Viltrumite after their previous encounter with Omni-Man, and an army numbering in the thousands, with hundreds more arriving by transport every minute. We jump back to Titan and Oliver, who have just arrived at Mr. Liu's hideout. When Oliver hesitates to fight this guy
He's like 100.
Don't be fooled, kid.
Liu pulls a page from Dragon Ball. "You fool, this isn't even my final form," and turns into his dragon form. Oliver calls Eve to send in Invincible as backup, but Mark is still busy fighting a duo of meched up Flaxons. And as the Flaxon soldiers continue to overwhelm the Guardians, Rex realizes the emitter for the temporal signal is nowhere in sight and must be coming from the Flaxon realm. The Guardians cover Rex and Monster Girl as they rush their way to the portal, and sure enough, as the two step inside, they find the emitter. Rex goes for the emitter as Monster Girl goes to free the enslaved humans, and mission accomplished. All the Flaxons in the Earth realm begin to age and die, but that victory is cut short. Rex climbs a hill and finds a vast army ready to invade at any moment. Rex sends out a message to the Guardians: "We cannot stop here. We must defeat the Flaxons once and for all in their own dimension. If we allow them to return, they will not fail next time." Britt gives the go-ahead as the Guardians rush the portal, and Cecil protests over the headset.
Sorry, Cecil. Some orders you just can't follow.
But as a dying Flaxon sees the Guardians coming along with their demise, he crawls his way through the portal and shoots the power source, keeping it open, sealing Rex and Monster Girl in the Flaxon realm with no hope of return.
Can we just open a portal of our own?
You don't think we've been trying to do that since the first time these assholes visited us?
But for Invincible, the fight is far from over. Eve finally gets a hold of Mark and fills him in on Oliver's situation. Oliver is wounded, but Invincible shows up in the nick of time. Now, as a team of Viltrumite powerhouses, the pair proceed to fend off the slippery Slurpant until he tucks tail and flies off. Titan steps out to give a warning to Mr. Liu that
Make a fist if this isn't over. This isn't over.
And Invincible is set off. With all the problems that Titan has caused Invincible in the past, he is the last one who should be around Oliver when he's in trouble. Mark tackles Titan to the ground and proceeds to start to beat him to a pulp as he screams, "You do not mess with my family!" While Titan pleads, "I was trying to save mine." I thought this was a very well done parallel between what happened in the park earlier and this situation. Very nicely done. But Oliver begs Mark to stop. He can't stand to see his brother like this. Mark says, "We're done here," and the brothers fly off. As Debbie tends to Oliver's wounds, Paul tries his best to relate and play dad, but relating to superpowered kids is harder than it looks. Eve tells Mark Rex couldn't figure out what was causing her powers to fail, but promises to figure it out. But now that Rex is gone, Mark suggests getting Cecil's people to check it out, and Mark tells Eve, it almost happened again. He almost lost control and tried to kill someone else. We jump to a meeting of Machine Head's criminal organization where he's just announced that Titan is rejoining the Order. Those who join the Order can't interfere with or harm any other Order members. And when Titan tries to say the only reason I'm here is, Machine Head interrupts him with more news from the group. Another member is rejoining the group as well, and that member is none other than Mr. Liu himself. The whole crime family is back together again. Our mid-credit scene shows Mark away awakening from a dead sleep. Upon walking down the hallway, he sees a light on in the bathroom. As he approaches and calls for Eve, the door closes. He asks if everything is alright, and Eve says, "Everything's I'll come back to bed in a minute." Mark returns to bed, and as Eve looks down, we see her holding a pregnancy test, showing a positive sign. That's right, everybody, Eve is pregnant. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was episode 3. Like I said, we got a lot in this episode, setting up future events in the season. I really enjoyed this one, definitely my favorite of the first 3 that we got. For me, it certainly had the best animation. I don't know what's up with this show, man. Ever since the second season, it's either great or, well, not. Hopefully we can find some consistency at some point, but being that we're in season 4 already, I mean, it's probably just going to be a draw of the hat for each episode. But despite the animation, I'm having a great time with the start of this season. And based on how it's progressing, I'm pretty sure I have a good idea of where it's going to end and where the next season's going to pick up. But I could always be surprised with the addition of the Damien Darkblood stuff, so I guess we'll find out as we go. But you can be sure that we're going to find out together. I'll be here breaking it down every week, so be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss future content. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and hit that like button, it really helps me out. So again, thanks for being here, and until next time, I'm GrizzlyKaun, and remember, the cave is always open.